Howdy folks, Papa Joe here. I talked to a couple people today, seen a couple things on Facebook I want to talk to you about. Fellers, if you got daughters, I had 3 of them, raised 2 of the 3. If you got daughters, then fellers, you need to teach them how a man treats a woman. You need to set an example by the way you're treating your wife, their mother, supposedly. If you're trying to act like some kind of little gangbanger and be stupid, smack the wife around, ain't you macho? Talk down to her, treat her like trash, treat her like a servant. There's an old saying that our children will seek out a spouse like their parent. So men will seek out a spouse like their mother was. Women will seek out a spouse like their father was. So I see all these little deals on Facebook about, oh yeah, I've got a shotgun if they come visit my daughter, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hear all these posts about how bad the guy is. If he knew someone was beating a woman, blah, 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 blah. It's all talk, it's all blowing smoke. Start at home. As they used to say when I was a youngin', clean your own yard first before you complain about the neighbors. So you want your daughter to find a good man? Be a good man. Set the example. Show her with experience how a man treats his wife. And you even go a little farther than that by putting that daughter up on a little bit of a pedestal. Don't get them up there where they're going to get knocked down. They got the big head and they think they deserve everything. Don't go that far. There is an extreme, that pendulum. Bottom line is, treat your daughters well, treat your wife even better. Let your daughters and your sons see from experience how a real man raises a family, treats a family, and treats his wife. Get up and go to work. Don't be laying around being a bum. If you get fired or laid off, been there, done that. You go get something else. Been there, done that. When my boys were teenagers, we had 4 of them left at the house. Me and the wife was in a bad car wreck. It pretty much has left my wife disabled. I had came off the road. I was driving local. When she lost her job due to this wreck, I left my comfort zone, the nice being at home job, and I clumbed my butt back into an over-the-road truck. I went trucking. And I got talking to the boys about it a little bit later. And I told them, I said, well, I didn't think about it at the time, but I'll tell you now. When Mom got disabled, I said, now I could have laid down and cried and stuck with that little city job, that local job, and I could have went on welfare and all this other stuff and cried the blues and poor me and the government needs to help me out. I said, unfortunately, I was raised with a little bit of pride. Now, that don't mean that There ain't folks that deserve it or need it. Nobody deserves it, but there are those that need it. I said, so I knew I could make a living. So I left the house and I went and make a living. Back during the Depression days, from my understanding, I wasn't there. A lot of men had to leave home to go look for work because their jobs around them dried up. I don't know where this has come from, where it's manly to make children with a half a dozen women, not take care of them, the my baby daddy nonsense, and yeah, that hoe be the mama of my babies, and what kind of trash is that? And no, that ain't racial, because I hear it out of blacks and whites. Where did that come from, people? The way I was raised, if you made a baby, you took care of the baby. You raised the baby. You didn't push it off on mom or dad, much less off on society. You manned up. You played around. You got caught. Pay the fiddler. You danced. Now pay the fiddler. That ain't how they look at it nowadays. They think that you and I should be paying for their children. I don't. I didn't make your child. I don't want to raise your child. No one else wants to raise your child. You need to raise your child. You made it. So, long story short, if you've got these half dozen children with half dozen different women, what they're seeing is daddy made the baby, daddy little sissy, daddy can't raise him, he's out doing whatever he's doing. What that child's gonna think's right, and it ain't right. We holler what's wrong with our society. What's this world coming to? That's an easy one to answer. Good book tells us that you reap what you sow. And back in the 60s, during the hippie days, we started having problems with all this free love and all the nonsense. Well, now those from back in the 60s are up in their 80s, 70s, and 80s. And they're still, in their own fashion, pushing a bunch of this nonsense. That's where you get these right for gay marriage, and it's right to kill babies, and blah, blah, blah. It ain't right, people. It ain't right to take a life. I don't care if it's a unborn baby or a grown person. Unless they're trying to do you bodily harm, it ain't right. If they're trying to do you bodily harm, that's a whole different ball game. With that innocent baby in that belly, it ain't right to take that life. By the same token, it ain't right to leave that baby with the mama. It took two to make the baby. Now where's daddy? So, and this is falling on deaf ears. Those that are actually watching this, chances are you're my ilk, and I'm probably preaching to the choir. Those that need to hear this lecture, more than likely they don't want to listen to some old hillbilly. They don't want to hear my ranting and raving and my points of view, because it don't agree with what they've been raised, what they've been taught, and what they think is right. But I had to get it out. That's what this YouTube's for, is getting it out. So I got it out. God bless y'all and have a good evening.